All right.
Stephen Kellogg. All right. So I really enjoyed reading your bio on your website. Firstly, because you wrote it, which is pretty unique when you're looking at musicians' websites, I think. But I like that you said your music is sort of a compilation of your father's record collection. You want to kind of explain that?
Yeah. Well, this isn't my first rodeo, so I've been around a bit, and so that's why I decided to write that bio. I read enough things about myself that I'm like, that's not quite true, So I wrote it, and when I was thinking about why I do what I do and where it all comes from, I realized so much of it just came from the soundtrack of my childhood was just my dad coming home every day, putting on Crosby, Stills and Nash, putting on Jim Croce and Cat Stevens, and I never thought much about it. I just thought that's how people communicate, and so songs started coming to my head, and I think it was mostly because of that, listening to those records. So with the album I just made, I really just wanted to make something that I could hand him that he'd be proud to put in with that good music,
Well, speaking of doing what you do, you were in Portland a couple months ago and you gave a TED Talk. How did that come about? I mean, not everyone gets to do that.
No, I know. It's an awesome experience. So the TED Talk, I was invited by Concordia U nearby, and it's one of those things that you're sort of honored and flattered that someone thinks you have something worthwhile to say. So I said yes. And then immediately it's like, boom. All right. Well, we need the title of your talk next week. We need a synopsis the week after that. And the reality of it starts to set in. You start doing research and you see, great TED Talks, and you see some that didn't come off, and that scares you. So then you're up at night, and the next thing you know, you're like, I don't know how to do public speaking. But it turned out to be one of the best things I've ever done in my life, and it was an honor and a privilege.
So you're coming out here. It's just Stephen Kellogg, no Sixers. Mm-hmm. What happened to the Sixers?
Well, so the thing about the band I've been in, for anybody that might not know, the Sixers, we've been a band about 10 years, played almost 1,300 concerts together, and we no acrimony, but just like in the course of relationships, if you're not married, at some point you just want to break, in anything, and I think a couple of the guys are at a place in their life where they wanted a break from being on the road, and I totally get it. I mean, it's just like that makes sense. But I really love this, and I would never dream of stopping it. So it was just like, how do we move through that in a way that honors, our friendship and what everybody's done? And the answer for me was I was going to make a solo record, and I'll tour with other musicians, but I wanted to kind of come out alone first and just be amongst the people. So, yeah.
That solo record that's coming out early June, Blunderstone Rookery. Do I have that correct?
You do.
Okay, good.
I appreciate the confidence with which you said it, too. Yeah. I know it's a little scary.
I was practicing beforehand. Yeah. It didn't go as well. Blunderbone took, I don't, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
But 2012, with the band changing and doing the solo record, is a lot of change in there. Is that reflected on the record?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately I am who I am in this, and I've, the songs are still coming from the same well, but I got the thing about when you're in a band, it sounds like a band, it sounds like everything sounds like those guys, and when you're doing a solo record, you can kind of do whatever you want, and in this case, I got one of the best drummers in the business, Travis McNabb from Sugarland, had him come in, play all these great drums, and then I said, all right, Travis, now I'm going to shrink them down and make them sound small and thuddy, like an old Steve Miller record. And that's like something you can do when it's a solo record, but when you're in a band, if you tell your best friend that you're going to make his kick drum sound like a peanut, he doesn't like that. It's just like, so so it does feel a little bit different to me. It's a little more my aesthetic, anyway.
All right, well, Stephen Kellogg playing a show tonight at Mississippi Studios. Let's hear some more music. Give it up.
All right. Thank you.